state and nation are vilified because of their origin or are exploited by those who employ them, let us remind ourselves that almost all of us come from immigrant stock, and let us proclaim that all people in our midst, of all colors and ethnicities and origins and gender orientations and economic station in life and of all abilities deserve to be treated with dignity and respect and equality. And let us promise that we won't back down until it is so. When we acknowledge the expanding gap between the haves and the have-nots, let us proclaim that crippling economic inequality must be turned around. That, too, is what justice looks like. When over 40,000 of our New Hampshire neighbors need an expanded Medicaid program for survival and wellness and better access to addiction services and mental health care, let us proclaim that permanent program authorization is essential, and let us promise we will not back down until it is so. When the threat of war still plagues us, when our schools suffer neglect and teachers and other public servants are denigrated, when our infrastructure is crumbling, when certain public policies cause a race to the bottom rather than the top, when private wealth feels it can ignore the common good and dictate self-interested public policy through unfettered political spending, and when some individuals believe that an attack on the other or on workers, or on women is a winning political campaign strategy, let us promise one another that we will boldly and continually stand up for beloved community in the face of those who would divide us and tear us down. And let us pledge that we will be a voice for decency and fair play whenever and wherever our voice is needed. With the call of the Spirit within each one of us, let this be so. Amen.
Please welcome the NHDP officers to the stage. Chairman Ray Buckley.
Good morning. As chair of the New Hampshire Democratic Party, it is my honor to call this convention to order. Our first order of business is to hear from our first vice chair, State Senator Martha Fuller Clark, as chair of the Credentials Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for being here. I am proud to announce that our attendance today will make this the largest state party convention ever. Look around. Can you believe it? We have 1,107 registered delegates here today, and we are also joined by over 3,094 guests. That means we have a total of 4,201 in attendance. Is there a motion motion to accept the Credential Committee report? Is there a second? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Clark. And now to issue the Rules Committee report, the Chair of the New Hampshire Democratic Party Rules Committee, the Honorable Michael Rollo.
Chairman, good morning, New Hampshire Democrats. And thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of the members of the New Hampshire Democratic Party Rules Committee, I'm pleased to present our report. The off-year convention, this convention, every 2 years, makes changes, proposes changes to the New Hampshire Democratic Party Constitution. After much discussion, the Rules Committee this year has no proposed changes to the Constitution. I move that we accept the report. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor? Aye. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have another motion.
So recognized.
I move that the official business of this convention be closed so we can hear from our governor, our senator, our congresswoman, leaders from across the state, and the next president of the United States. Is there a second? All those in favor? Aye. Forgot where I put it.
So good morning, Democrats.
Good morning.
Is this a great convention?
Yay!
I'm sorry. So we're in the midst of a spirited primary. But let us never forget the goal is winning next November. So be good New Hampshire Democrats and enthusiastically cheer for every candidate. Listen carefully to every New Hampshire leader and show respect to everybody today. Today is about energized New Hampshire Democrats and how we're prepared for victory in 2016. The poor New Hampshire Republicans are having a complete meltdown. Not just that we have the largest state party convention in New Hampshire history, but the New Hampshire Republicans are having a meltdown because they know New Hampshire Democrats are going to win in 2016. Now, we all know that Republicans aren't very good with facts, but here's some facts that even the Republicans in New Hampshire know. No Republican presidential nominee has made it to 50% in New Hampshire since 1988. In the 5 past presidential elections, 1996, 2000, 2004, 2008, 2012, there have been 13 statewide elections in New Hampshire, and Democrats have won 10 of them. Here's some more facts. New Hampshire Democrats have won 9 out of the last 10 races for governor. And next year, it's going to be 10 out of 11 when the voters say, so no, no, no to Chris Sununu. And New Hampshire Democrats have won 2 out of the last 3 races for the United States Senate. And next year, it's going to be 3 out of 4 when Kelly Ayotte is sent packing. But lucky for her, Fox News has a job waiting for her, co-hosting with her bestie from the Bay State, Scott Brown. New Hampshire Democrats have won 3 out of the past 5 races in the 1st congressional districts. And in 2016, only 5% of Republicans even want to renominate Frank Kitcher. We're going to win in 2016 in the 1st district. In the 2nd district, we've won 4 out of the last 5 races. And in the 2nd congressional district with Andy Custer, and Republicans don't even have anyone thinking about challenging her because she's going to win. New Hampshire Democrats have won the council majority in 3 out of the last 5 elections. And we've got a shot at winning all 5 seats in 2016. New Hampshire Democrats have received, you got to listen to this is artful. New Hampshire Democrats have received more votes for the state Senate in 4 of the past 5 elections. Damn that redistricting. And we will win the majority outright in 2016. New Hampshire Democrats have won the House majority in 3 of the past 5 elections. And sorry, Sean Jasper and Bill O'Brien, but the fact is neither of you are going to be Speaker next year. But really, the exciting news coming out of New Hampshire isn't just how well we do in presidential elections. Listen to this. Across the nation in 2014, Democratic turnout was worse than 2010, but not here in New Hampshire. Yes, we had brutal results in 2010, but in 2014, when there was a giant Republican wave across the nation, we held on. While we didn't win everything, Senator Shaheen was re-elected to the United States Senate. Only the second Democrat to be re-elected by the people of New Hampshire to the United States Senate. That is making history. Governor Hassan was re-elected governor. Despite being outspent 2-1. They spent $4 million in attack ads in Boston TV, and she still won. Congressman Custer was re-elected, and we cut our losses elsewhere in half. So while Democratic turnout in 2014 across the nation was down, even from the terrible turnout of 2010, here in New Hampshire it was up. But it wasn't even across the state. It was community by community. Right next door to each other, there was one town that did really, really well, and another not so well. But it didn't make any sense. It's a small state. We all got the same TV ads, the same mail, the same radio commercials, same newspapers, same news. Everything's identical, except one thing. Turnout was up dramatically in the towns and cities that had a vibrant, well-organized local grassroots Democratic committee, proving that the most powerful tool that any campaign can have is you. Nothing is more important than one neighbor talking to another neighbor, going door to door, on the phone, and in any other way that you communicate with them. If you recommit to organizing and supporting your local committee, we will win in 2016. Yay! And we'll win in 2018. And we'll win in 2020. And that's when we can undo the outrageous Republican gerrymandering, and from then on, Democrats, every year in New Hampshire, no matter the national mood, we will win, and it's going to be all because of you. So, New Hampshire's future has never been brighter. Our course has never been clear as a party. Our victory never so close. New Hampshire Democrats, it's all in your hands. Are you willing? Are you willing to commit to build a vibrant, organized local committee in every county, every town, and every neighborhood across the state so we can have the best grassroots operation in the entire country? Yay! All right. Thank you so much, and this concludes my report. It is now my honor to introduce the chair of the Democratic National Committee, our friend, Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz. Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz.
Thank you so much. How are you, New Hampshire Democrats? Are we ready to elect the 45th President of the United States of America? Well, I am too, and I'm looking forward to the next 416 days fighting side by side with you to do just that. I am so thrilled to be back here in New Hampshire as we get the ball rolling on the 2016 election cycle. Thank you, Ray, for the invitation to speak here this morning. You all know Ray Buckley for the great work that he does as chair of the New Hampshire And we're going to have a debate right here in Manchester in December, so make sure you tune in. Don't you worry. We will be taking it to the Republicans just like we do every single election cycle. And I will tell you, if you got to look at them the other night, I want to make sure that the American people get a good, close look at just how extreme the Republican field of candidates. They outdo crazy every single time they step on that stage. We're going to be ready, don't you worry. So let me heap some love on Ray Buckley. Not only is he the chair of the New Hampshire Democratic Party, but he is also a leader of leaders, as I like to call him, the president of the Association of State Democratic Chairs, and one of our DNC vice chairs. Ray's work has helped strengthen state Democratic parties in all 50 states and puts our party in a position to win races up and down the ballot all across the country. But more than a colleague, I am so fortunate to be able to call Ray Buckley a friend. He's always had my back, and I will always have his. So thank you so much, Ray. Really, you do such a fantastic job. So I'd also like to recognize our hardworking DNC members from New Hampshire who are in attendance today: William Shaheen, Joanne Dowdell, Kathy Sullivan, and Martha Fuller-Clark. And I know we have a number of other DNC members from across the region, so welcome and thank you so much for the work that you do every single day for our party. And of course, thank you to each and every one of you, and especially for coming out today to make this the largest political convention in Granite State history. I would ask you to give yourself a round of applause, but you just did, and I applaud you as well. It is because of you that we achieved the success that we have under President Obama. Successes like 66 straight months of job growth, the creation of 13 million private sector jobs, deficits cut by 2/3, Wall Street reform, student loan reform. I guess there's a few students in the house. The end of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and DOMA. Now love is finally the law of the land in all 50 states, thanks to Democrats. And access to quality, affordable health care that has been extended to 16 million Americans, and we will make sure it is never taken away. Never. We are not going back. We're going to move forward, like Barack Obama took us forward when we won the 2008 and the 2012 elections, because the American people are standing with us. As a breast cancer survivor, I never want to go back to a time when health insurance companies set the rules and could deny someone insurance for having a pre-existing condition. And I am honored, thank you, and I am honored to be fighting alongside you to continue to make sure that this remains a reality. Now, I've been coming to New Hampshire for years. Since I accepted President Obama's request to serve as DNC chair in 2011, I've done nearly 50 events in the Granite State, from Berlin to Durham to Milford to Claremont. Campaigning for other Democrats in New Hampshire brings me back to my first race for the Florida State House of Representatives when I was just 26 years old. It was a 6-way primary race back then. I didn't have the connections or the resources the other candidates had. The good old boys, of course, told me not to run, that it was not my turn. But I knew that as a young woman, the policies of my state wouldn't reflect my views if I'd played it safe and didn't step up. So that summer, I knocked on 25,000 doors. 25,000, because grassroots campaigning is the most effective way to take your case to the voters. Every Jewish grandmother, every Jewish grandmother who welcomed me into her living room, every young woman who showed me that they wanted to make sure that there was someone who had their back and who would be their voice, who had the respect to listen to what I had to say, who trusted me enough to tell me their concerns that the other politicians wouldn't listen to. Those are the faces that I remember when I think about who I'm fighting for. Thank you. Thank you. Now, thank you. That's what it's all about with us as Democrats. I've always been impressed by what makes New Hampshire voters unique and by your high expectations for candidates to truly connect with voters. The way you open up your living rooms and hear them out. The way you sit in a diner booth over a cup of coffee and have a real conversation. The way you share with them your greatest, come on folks, we are all on the same side. So let's make sure that we focus on the Republicans. We should not be arguing amongst ourselves. We have a job to do. We have a president to elect. We will have a healthy and robust debate amongst ourselves, and then we will take it to the Republicans to make sure that they see that it is our candidates that stand up for the middle class and working families. We need to unite and come together. We need to make sure that we show every voter in America that it's Democrats that have had their back and that will have their back. So onward, unified, and focused. Thank you. Thank you. So I want to heap some love on New Hampshire. So give me a minute to do that. I've always been impressed by what makes New Hampshire voters unique and by your high expectations to truly connect with voters. The way you open up your living rooms and hear them out. The way you sit in a diner booth over a cup of coffee and have a real conversation. The way you share with them your greatest hopes and your deepest concerns while eating some of the best chicken tenders in the country. You all know better than anyone that this race can't be won from a stage or through a television screen. You want to see these candidates in your living rooms, in coffee shops, at town halls, and at forums just like the one that we're having today. Like you, I'm looking forward to hearing the plans our candidates put forward on issues that matter. Every one of our Democratic candidates is passionate and united behind one goal: strengthening the middle class. That is our goal. And we are going to fight side by side together to get there. And no matter which of our candidates accepts the Democratic nomination in Philadelphia next July, are we ready for Philadelphia? I can't wait to put on the best national Democratic convention that the country has ever seen. When our nominee is selected and nominated in Philadelphia next July and becomes the 45th President of the United States, we know that he or she will move our country forward, build on the progress that we've already made, and put the American dream within reach for many more Granite Staters and all Americans. There is so much work left for us to do. Now, we may have won marriage equality, and thanks to New Hampshire for being one of the first states in the country to say that love is love. Thank you, New Hampshire. Thank you for leading the way. But it is still legal in far too many places for you to be fired because of who you are or whom you love. And under Democrats, we will make sure that that gets turned backwards as well. My friends, we need to fix our broken immigration system and address the looming threat of climate change before it's too late. We need to do more to help working families by ensuring equal pay, increasing the minimum wage, and strengthening paid leave programs. Now, if you've been paying attention to the Republicans lately, maybe you ran into one in New Hampshire recently. If you haven't been, here's the bizarro world CliffsNotes version of what they're saying. They're saying, let's go back to the failed policies of the past. let's make the same foreign policy mistakes that we've made again. Let's bring back the same trickle-down economics that preceded the economic crisis, and while we're at it, boo is right. While we're at it, let's ensure that Republicans continue to be the party of opposition, obstruction, and repeal. We've seen from them nothing but attacks. Between all the Republican candidates on stage on Wednesday night, they offered zero real solutions to address climate change, to give hardworking Americans a raise, or fix our nation's broken immigration system. Democrats know what the country and Republicans need to be discussing: the middle class, and what we can do to help build those ladders of success. But it seems like the primary topic of discussion among Republicans has been Donald Trump. But that's not all. Women's health care is also a topic among Republicans, but not in a good way. They are all talking about how to make it less accessible. Several of their candidates, including Ted Cruz and Donald Trump, have suggested that they'd be willing to shut down the entire government over defunding Planned Parenthood. You just can't make this stuff up. Carly Fiorina, though, didn't stop there. She went as far as lying on stage the other night about this very topic just to score political points. Apparently, they've forgotten the last time they shut down the government over denying people access to health care. Last time it cost our economy $24 billion. Who knows how much worse it'll be this time if they do it again. But as damaging and reckless as their policy agendas are, their records are far worse, my friends. Let's talk about Carly Fiorina's record and the 30,000 people at HP who lost their jobs on her watch, and the $40 million golden parachute she grabbed for herself on the way out the door. Or we can talk about Jeb Bush. Jeb Bush, who keeps insisting that he's his own man, and then tried to prove that by launching a vigorous defense of his brother's foreign policy mistakes. He also introduced a new tax plan a couple of weeks ago, which is just his brother's plan on steroids. More huge tax breaks for millionaires and wealthy corporations, blowing a giant hole in our deficit. Now, we can talk about Marco Rubio's pandering Tea Party policies, or John Kasich's efforts in Ohio to restrict access to voting, or how Scott Walker thinks he's ready to fight ISIS because he took on Wisconsin teachers and firefighters. Or we can talk about how Republicans have so little respect for women that nearly half of their candidates couldn't even name a single notable American woman that they thought worth putting on the $10 bill. Raise your hand if you could think of 10 notable American women that belong on the $10 bill. I know I could. I could think of 100. That's how little respect Republicans have for the women of this country. They prove it every single day. And that's not all. You don't need to look any further than their frontrunner to see how Republicans are trying to tear America apart and divide us. Donald Trump launched his campaign with a slew of hateful rhetoric about Mexican immigrants, propelling him right to the top of the Republican polls. Marco Rubio walked away from his own immigration plan, and House Republicans blocked a bipartisan comprehensive bill. So while some Republicans have tried to distance themselves from Trump's offensive rhetoric, the fact is they endorse some of the same offensive policies. Scott Walker, Ted Cruz, Ben Carson, and others followed Trump's lead by arguing that we should deny children the American citizenship that they are guaranteed by the 14th Amendment. Walker also seemed to suggest building a border wall with Canada, maybe right here in New Hampshire. And Jeb Bush referred to American children using a vile and disgusting term. We are going to have a debate again right here in New Hampshire in December. I'm ready to debate with you. Just the other day, at a campaign event in Rochester, Trump was at it again. One of his supporters in the audience called President Obama a Muslim. My friends, what's more important, drawing a contrast with Republicans or arguing about debates? Let's focus on our mission and the task at hand. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. We have a job to do. Let's focus on our task at hand. We have a presidential candidate that did not the other night tell a supporter in the audience that Barack Obama was not a Muslim. What he said instead, in response to a question about when we can get rid of him, he didn't say, Barack Obama's not a Muslim. Ever the statesman, Donald Trump didn't correct this person, no. He didn't say that was wrong. He assured the man instead that he would be, quote, looking into it. Now, we should be long past that. America is better than that. Better than that. But these attitudes, and the Republican candidates who encourage it, are the reason that a high school freshman in Texas gets arrested when he brings a homemade clock to school. Now, I'm the mother of twin high school kids. What have we come to in America that a child's ingenuity is suspect? This is not the America that we aspire to. We're better than that. The people, thank you. The people of New Hampshire know we need solutions that bring people together. As Democrats, we are the party of inclusion, empowerment, and expanded opportunity, and we are part of the solution. That is who we are and who we're all about. Now, thank you. Over the next 13 and a half months, remember what's at stake in this election. And remember what unites us as Democrats and as Americans. And as Democrats, we are united in the belief that women and men should be paid equally for the same job. As Democrats, let's focus on what's really important. As Democrats, we are united in the belief that everyone should be able to marry who they love. As Democrats, we are united in the belief that every American should have access to quality, affordable health care. As Democrats, we are united in the belief that we need to keep moving our nation forward and build on the success of the middle-class economics to help families get ahead. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind over the next 416 days as we do everything we can to make sure we keep moving this country forward. I'm so looking forward to this effort and fighting side by side with you to elect a Democrat as the 45th President of the United States of America. On to victory! On to victory! We will make sure that the middle class is able to rise again, and that it is not only the wealthiest, most fortunate Americans that Republicans have taken care of for far too long. We will draw the contrast just like we did in 5 out of the last 6 presidential elections when a Democrat had the support of the American people. On to victory in 2016. Thank you so much.
Please welcome to the stage Executive Councilor Colin Van Ostrom.
Sounds like people are pretty fired up today, is that right? So, I unexpectedly traveled across the country yesterday and got on a red eye about 7 hours ago. And let me tell you, literally, there is no better sight for sore eyes than thousands of energized, excited, informed Democrats. You guys ready for 2016? You know, today we're going to hear from 12 great New Hampshire leaders and 5 incredible special guests. But that's not why we're here. Our purpose today is not about the people who will stand at the podium. We're here because of the homeless vet who slept last night just a few blocks from here. That's why we're here. We're here because of the waitress in Keene, 10 months sober, who is spending her Saturday morning counseling others about life without heroin and wondering how we can get together to stop this rising tide. We're here today for the 5-year-old in Concord with the bright eyes and the piercing questions who just started school in one of half of the towns in this state that do not have public full-day kindergarten, still in 2015. We're here for the entrepreneur just down the street here in Alpha Loft with a killer app and a great customer list who loves our great economy and our amazing quality of life and wonders why we can't get passenger rail from Boston to here in central New Hampshire so he can grow his business. We're here for Ashley. Ashley's a 22-year-old young woman from Langdon, New Hampshire, who'd never written a representative of hers in her life, and she emailed me a month ago to ask why in the world 3 Republican men on the Executive Council thought they could take away the annual exam and the birth control that she relies on at the Claremont Planned Parenthood Center. And today, we're here for the college freshmen at Plymouth or Durham or Keene or right here in Manchester, who's full of wonder and fear and excitement and doesn't yet know that they might run out of student loans, that they might end up college tens of thousands of dollars in credit card debt. Unless we fight, unless we make our voice their voice, unless we make this day their day, unless we make this year of 2016 their year. This is why we're Democrats. We include, we stand up, we lift up, we progress and advance. We chart a path for a brighter future, one where everyone in every town and every child can fulfill their God-given potential, and then we work together to get it done. You know, that's what we did last year when we extended health care coverage to 41,000 of our fellow citizens who didn't have it before. And that is how we will stop Bill O'Brien from taking it away next year. Working together is how we restored funding for Planned Parenthood just 4 years ago, for birth control and cancer screenings, before Chris Sununu yanked it away just last month. And it's how we will make sure that funding is restored. He is not the final word on this. We are a democracy, and we will restore that funding if it takes an election. Charting a brighter future for our state is why we stood with market basket workers, why we stood with Fairpoint workers, why we will never turn our back on our firefighters and our cops and the teachers who are our strength. So let's do what we do best as a party today. Let's dedicate this day not to the people at this podium, but to the people outside this arena. Let's pledge to fight for a brighter future for them. Let's pledge to fight for debt-free college. Let's pledge to fight for a future that is accelerated by passenger rail and brightened by solar panels and supported by the thousands of good jobs that come with both. Let's fight for access to full-day kindergarten and better paid leave and sick leave and family leave laws that are good for our workers and our businesses. And let's fight for finally a fair New Hampshire minimum wage. Let's fight to keep taxes low for hardworking New Hampshire citizens and our growing small businesses by closing the loopholes and ending the special giveaways to the very wealthiest and the biggest corporations. We can do this together. You know, I know we can do this. 2016 is our year. So let me end by asking you a very simple question. Are you ready to go all in and stand up to make a brighter future for the people of New Hampshire? Well, let's get to work.
Please welcome House Democratic Leader Steve Shartliff.
Well, good morning, Democrats. Let me start with the good news. I've got a 5-page speech, but I'm not going to read it. I just want to talk with you. You know, we've heard from a lot of great Democrats this morning, and you're going to hear from a lot more. And believe me, after listening to me, the ones that haven't spoken are going to sound that much better. But I want to start by recognizing my brothers and sisters in the House Democratic Caucus. And if all our current members could please stand up to be recognized. Thank you so much. Folks, I can't tell you the pride and respect and admiration I have for each and every member of our Democratic caucus. The first vote we took last November in December in the House was to elect a speaker. The political expedient thing for House Democrats was to have Bill O'Brien come back. But our caucus, doing the right thing for the people of New Hampshire, did the morally correct thing. We supported the insurgent candidate for Speaker, Sean Jasper. And with Democratic support, Sean Jasper defeated Bill O'Brien by only 4 votes. And if we want to know the impact of that vote, we have to look no further to last Wednesday. But what Democrats did on that day, they have been doing throughout the House session, putting the best interests of the people first. And I cannot thank them enough. Let me just take a moment to thank our Governor, Maggie Hassan. If Donald Trump ever wants to learn the art of negotiation, he should follow Governor Hassan for a day. Her leadership in bringing Democrats and Republicans in the House and the Senate together to forge a budget that we could all live with is just incredible. You know, we had those in the House, the Bill O'Briens, the Jennifer Horns, the right-wingers, that up until the last moment kept fighting to derail this budget. But because of Governor Hassan's leadership, we persevered and got a budget. I don't know what decision the governor is going to make for her future, but whatever decision she makes, the people of New Hampshire are going to benefit by it. You know, this session, we have worked so hard and we have accomplished so much. And the last thing we voted on was the budget. And as I told somebody, in this budget, Democrats didn't win, Republicans didn't win, but the people of New Hampshire, especially those that need state services, they won. And that's what's important. We got funding for drug and alcohol counseling, funding for health care, funding for education, funding to repair our infrastructure. And to me, one of the most important things, we got the 2% pay raise for our hard-working state employees that they much deserved. And now, we in the House Democratic Caucus are looking forward to 2016 when we take back our majority once again. But we know we will not achieve that goal without all of your help. Run for the House. If you can't run, support our candidates and support the committee to elect House Democrats. We've accomplished a lot as the minority party. Think what we're going to do as the majority. We will guarantee voting rights. We will protect a woman's right to choose. We will make sure people get a quality education. And most important, we will make sure that our next Democratic governor will get the legislature that they deserve. Thank you so much, and God bless New Hampshire.
I will keep working as hard as I can every
Good morning, New Hampshire Democrats!
much. Thank you. Thank you, New Hampshire Democrats. It is really incredible to see so many fired up Democrats here today. I want to thank our chairman, Ray Buckley, and the hardworking NHDP staff for once again making the state convention a huge success with an amazing turnout. You know, our first in the nation primary is a cherished responsibility for Granite Staters. It reflects and informs who we are. And this historic convention speaks to the great pride we take in our critical role in the democratic process. I also want to thank Senator Jeanne Shaheen and Congresswoman Annie Kuster I want to thank them both for their tireless efforts to get things done for New Hampshire and for always fighting to ensure that the voices of our state are heard in Washington. I'd like to recognize our Democratic Executive Counselors, Chris Pappas and Colin Van Ostern, for working with me every day to keep our state moving forward. And I want to give a special word of thanks today to our state senators and representatives for their continued dedication to our communities and our state, especially for their leadership, unity, and courage this week. I know that Democratic leader Shurtleff just asked him to do it, but would all of the state legislators who are here today please stand and be recognized again? Thank you so much. It was their willingness to stand together and then to come together with me to compromise that made it possible for us to pass a fiscally responsible budget this week. And most of all, thank you, New Hampshire Democrats. We are here today because we are all united in a common purpose, to keep New Hampshire moving in the right direction. Since I entered office, we have fought to expand opportunity for hard-working middle-class families. And we've worked to help innovative businesses create more good jobs right here in New Hampshire. 2 years ago, by bringing together members of both parties, we passed the most bipartisan budget in over a decade. We froze in-state tuition at our universities. And we lowered tuition at our community colleges. To help our innovative businesses grow, we doubled and made permanent the R&D tax credit. And we are fixing roads and bridges across the state and finishing the expansion of I-93. We passed the New Hampshire Paycheck Fairness Act. And more than 40,000 hardworking Granite Staters now have the health and economic security that comes with quality health coverage because we expanded Medicaid. Together, we've put New Hampshire back on the right track. And we are seeing the progress all across the state. Our unemployment rate is now 3.6%, the fourth lowest in the country. Last year, New Hampshire led New England with the biggest growth in personal income. And our economic growth was tied for best in New England, beating the national average. Now, despite these many encouraging signs that our economy is moving in the right direction, we still have much more work to do to ensure that all of our citizens are included in our shared success and prosperity. I am proud that this week we were able to forge a fiscally responsible bipartisan budget deal that will help keep our state moving forward. With this compromise, we will strengthen investments in critical economic priorities while protecting those investments for years to come. I'm particularly pleased that this budget supports the vast majority of the priorities that I identified in my budget proposal back in February. Priorities like combating the heroin crisis, holding down the cost of college tuition, maintaining our roads and bridges, and continuing to strengthen and increase access to health care. As governor, I see it every day. I see that our dedicated state employees make a positive impact on the lives of New Hampshire citizens each and every day. And this budget maintains our commitment to our hardworking state employees by funding their previously negotiated contract. While this compromise agreement does not include everything that either side wants, it will safeguard our ability to support critical economic priorities both now and in the future. With a fiscally responsible, balanced budget in place, we need to get right back to work on the priorities that will keep our state moving forward. We need to build on our efforts to combat New Hampshire's heroin epidemic, and that means fighting now to reauthorize our successful Medicaid expansion plan and safeguard health care for more than 40,000 Granite Staters. Public health and safety officials have made clear that the single most important thing we can do today to combat the heroin crisis is to expand treatment capacity by reauthorizing expansion, and we cannot wait any longer. And how is it in the year 2015 that 3 executive counselors just blocked critical health services for thousands of women and families by defunding Planned Parenthood? These counselors, it seems, have very short memories. Last time the Executive Council defunded Planned Parenthood, we made our voices heard loud and clear at the ballot box and said, enough. That's exactly what we need to do again. Here in New Hampshire, we are proud to be known for our first-in-the-nation primary, and we all know how important that is. But we also know that it's not enough to just be first with our presidential primary. New Hampshire Democrats want us to be first in economic opportunity. We want to be first in education, and we want to be first in helping our businesses thrive and grow. We want to be first in ensuring access to quality, affordable health care. And we want to be first in attracting young people to stay here in New Hampshire and to start their families here, too. My fellow Democrats, we can't turn back now. Together, we can bring new meaning to our cherished distinction as the first in the nation's state. Together, we can keep New Hampshire moving in the right direction. Thank you, and God bless you. Have a wonderful day.
Please welcome Senate Democratic Leader Jeff Woodburn.
What a great speech by our governor. It's an honor to follow her. She does a great job. She sort of set the tone of what we need to be doing in the state of New Hampshire, and I'm going to try to fill in the blanks of why we need to do it and who we work so hard for. And it's great to be in such a terrific crowd here. I'm a former town Democratic chair, former county Democratic chair, former state Democratic Party chair, member of the legislature, senator, and now Democratic leader. But it is the title of teacher that I am most proud of. And I'm a Democrat for the same reason I'm a teacher. I believe in human dignity and human potential. And we as Democrats, and those of us in the Senate that fight hard every day, know in the bottom of our hearts that there's a hidden genius in every person, and it's our opportunity and our responsibility to find that, nurture that, and grow that. And when I was a young teacher, new teacher, I was having some trouble with a particularly difficult kid from a particularly hard and tough background. I taught in one of the poorest schools in Coos County. And one of the war veterans teacher pulled me aside, knew I was having trouble, and said the difference between him and you, me and him, is that much. That much. And that much is what I had to do as a teacher, what you have to do as Democratic activists, what all of our elected officials do every day. Because that difference is a good family, strong community, a full stomach, quality health care, quality education, and on and on and on. In the Senate, we fight hard to build a safety net because we know, unlike our Republican friends who call it a hammock, we know that that safety net is a springboard for success. I'm very proud of the 9 Democratic colleagues that I serve with in the Senate. They work hard every day, expanding opportunities for all people, not just those of wealth and convenience and comfort. They're working hard to bring wages up and the cost of opportunity and success down so all people will have the same and equal opportunity to live their dreams. I want to recognize those great senators who work hard every day, strong people who I count as friends and mentors, and I want to introduce them to you. We have Andrew Hosmer from Laconia, Senator David Waters from Dover, Senator Martha Fuller Clark. There she is, Martha. And our newest member, Dan Felters from Concord. Dan. And of course, we have Senator Betty Lasky from Nashua. And we have a great Democratic Deputy Leader, Senator Donna Soucy from Manchester. And of course, from Keene, Molly Kelly, Senator Kelly. And from the Upper Valley, from Lebanon, David Pierce. Thank you, David, for your work. And Senator Lou D'Alessandro can't be with us, but we certainly appreciate his good work as well. Thank you for all you do. Onward, we need a Democratic Senate in the next election. We'll get things done. We'll serve the people. Thank you very much for all you do.
Now to a landmark day at the Supreme Court. The justices will hear arguments in a same-sex marriage case that could pave the way for couples in all
it just amazing that today same-sex couples can be legally married in all 50 states in our country? Now, as you know, these victories aren't won overnight. It's not as simple as finding a marriage equality page on Facebook and clicking like. No. I'm here to give my heartfelt thanks to the lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender advocates who often put their jobs or their lives on the line and at risk, and often felt alone for decades, fighting for fairness when it wasn't fashionable. By speaking up and showing the love and commitment of everyday gay and lesbian couples here in the Granite State, eventually these unsung heroes finally won the hearts and minds of the citizens of New Hampshire, and finally the votes of a majority of the New Hampshire legislature as well. Thanks to all of the advocates and the allies who knocked on doors, who made phone calls, who packed committee rooms and the State House gallery when the vote came up. And finally, in 2009, Democrat and Republican legislators made New Hampshire the 5th state in our union to enact marriage equality, and only the 2nd state to do so without a court mandate. Now, while many people fought hard to win needed protections for New Hampshire's LGBT families, there is one person who fought harder and smarter and longer and with more personal integrity than anyone else. Almost 30 years ago, this American hero founded the New Hampshire Citizens Alliance for Gay and Lesbian Rights. This state and national leader fought for LGBT rights by putting his head and his heart in the state's fight for marriage equality. And this leader is our nation's first openly gay chair of the Association of State Democratic Party Chairs. And I am so proud to present a Human Rights Campaign Equality Award to my friend, the New Hampshire Democratic Party Chair, Raymond Buckley.
Please welcome to the stage Executive Councilor Chris Pappas.
How are you all, New Hampshire Democrats? Welcome to the great Queen City, the city of Manchester, which this November is going to elect our first female mayor, Joyce Craig, as the next mayor of Manchester. Now, isn't it amazing to watch that video from the Human Rights Campaign and see how far we've come? In my first speech as a state rep back in 2004, I joined a group of hardy New Hampshire House Democrats to fight against a bill that was going to define marriage in a discriminatory way. I knew it was important as a gay Granite Stater myself to stand up for a future where people like me would be fully included and respected. We put up a good fight against that discriminatory bill back in 2004, but we lost. We lost a lot of fights in that era. And at the time, I don't think anyone dared think that marriage equality would be the law of New Hampshire within 5 years or the law of the nation within 11. But what that fight taught all of us, all of the activists that work so hard for marriage equality, is that political obstacles are no match for progress and for the dignity of each and every individual. You know, at my restaurant here in Manchester, I've met many of the Republicans running for president. Yeah, I heard someone before drop chicken tenders. We have great ice cream, too. But you know, at my restaurant, I get to meet a lot of the Republicans running for president. It's a real thrill. And when I'm introduced to them as the owner of the establishment, they'll tell me things like, boy, I bet Obamacare is killing your business, and I bet you're being smothered by regulation. You know, the fact is, none of that's true. And those talking points may work for the Koch brothers, but I know that businesses thrive when workers are protected and empowered, and we've got to make sure we stand up for workers' rights. But you know what? What's just as telling is what these Republican candidates never mention at a restaurant stop in New Hampshire or on the national debate stage. They don't mention the need to raise wages and rebuild the middle class. They don't mention the need for affordable child care. They don't mention the crushing cost of higher education. And they certainly don't mention health care being a central economic and family issue. You know, on the Executive Council, it's been mentioned, Republicans routinely view health care in pure political terms. This year, we saw an unfortunate repeat of history, where 3 Republican men on the Executive Council defunded Planned Parenthood, jeopardizing critical care for 13,000 women and men in our state. And while the bipartisan Medicaid expansion plan is a huge success, covering 42,000 individuals, there are some Republicans at the State House who would gleefully pull the plug on that program. With the health and well-being of so many Granite Staters on the line, we must keep fighting to restore funding to Planned Parenthood and renew Medicaid expansion. We've won these debates before, and we can surely do it again. You know, when I think of the tough fights that we have ahead, I think of successes from the past, like marriage equality, which was won despite seemingly insurmountable obstacles. You know, the writer Victor Hugo once said, "Nothing is as powerful as an idea whose time has come." That was so true about marriage, but it will prove just as true for the other core beliefs of this party. You know, when we're talking about affordable health care for all, access to family planning services, that time has come. When we're talking about rebuilding our state's infrastructure, bringing passenger rail to the heart of New Hampshire, that time has come as well. When we're talking about developing clean energy and acting on climate change, that time has clearly come. And when we're talking about respecting workers and allowing more people to climb into the middle class in this country, that time has come and is long overdue. So Democrats, let's not be deterred by those who would put up political roadblocks to our progress. Let's not be disenchanted by a temporary setback or a lost vote at the State House. Let's not be discouraged by the rhetoric of those on the other side who would take us backward. The time has come to move New Hampshire forward on these issues and create enduring opportunities for each and every Granite Stater. Look, with persistence, with hard work, with the power of our ideas, we will get there, I guarantee you that. 2016 is right around the corner. Thank you for being a part of this historic convention. Let's stick together in 2016. I know that if we do, there's no obstacle that can get in our way and stop us. Thank you all so much.
With all my heart in an America where if you do your part, you reap the rewards, where we don't leave.
Thank you. Oh. Are we going to win this election in 2016? Yes, we are. Thank you. My heart is just racing. I am so excited to be here, grateful for everything you and this state have meant to me and to my family. I'm honored to have the support of so many proud New Hampshire Democrats and especially your terrific governor, your amazing senator who used to be governor. You know, Maggie and Jeannie are women who know how to solve problems. And they bring common sense and common purpose to everything they do. I also want to thank Congresswoman Annie Custer, all the state senators and representatives, executive counselors, local leaders, grassroots organizers, and especially volunteers who are working their hearts out for this campaign. I think we should just transport all of you everywhere we go around the country together. You know, as much fun as this is, as exciting as the atmosphere in here is, we have work to do as Democrats. I want to be your partner to build our party here in this state and across our nation to keep our progress going. We've come a long way, haven't we, these past 6.5 years? And thanks to the hard work and sacrifice of the American people and to the leadership of the Democratic president in the White House, Barack Obama, we're standing again, but we're not yet running the way America should. Wages still aren't rising for most people. The cost of everything from college to prescription drugs keeps going up. Inequality is still too big a problem. And you know, in America, if you work hard and you do your part, you should be able to get ahead and stay ahead. That is the basic bargain of this country. You know, that's the promise that my grandfather believed in when he went to work every day in the Scranton lace mills. I'm the granddaughter of a factory worker who believed in America and that life could be better for his children. And it was. His 3 sons went to college. My dad, after serving in the Navy in World War II, he started a small business. He saved and he sacrificed because he believed his small business, printing fabric in Chicago, could provide us with a middle-class life. And you know what? It did. And now, within 3 generations, from that factory worker to that small business owner, I'm standing here asking for your support to be president of this great country that we love. And so, that is what we are fighting for as Democrats. We are fighting to make sure that dream, that promise, is just as vital and real tomorrow and the years later as it was for my grandfather and my father. You know, when my husband put people first, in the 1992 campaign, where New Hampshire was so supportive, when he got into the White House, he realized that he had inherited real economic problems from his Republican predecessors. That seems to happen. Have you noticed? You know, I say this without trying to be partisan or personal, but the economy just works better when we have a Democrat in the White House. And so, after 8 years of hard work, a lot of political heavy lifting, the end of Bill's second term, there was a really important set of statistics that represented the progress we made. 23 million new jobs, a balanced budget. But you know what was most important to me? For the first time in decades, everybody benefited, not just those at the top, but people in the middle, people at the bottom. Everybody saw their incomes go up. You know, I went to the Senate. The good people of New York sent me to the Senate in 2001. And I was excited because I thought, look at what we've accomplished. We have turned around the economy. We have taken control over our fiscal future. Just think of what we could have done with that balanced budget and a surplus. We could have made Social Security solvent for as far as the eye could see. We could have invested in education, in science, and research to make us smarter and stronger and richer. But you know what happened. The Republicans went back to trickle-down economics, one of the worst ideas ever to come out of the 1980s, right along with big hair. They took their eyes off the financial markets, took their eyes off the mortgage markets, and President Obama inherited an even bigger mess. I remember when he called me right after the election, asked me to come see him in Chicago. I didn't know why at the time. Turned out he wanted to ask me to be Secretary of State, but when I got there, what he wanted to talk about was how dangerous the economic situation was. He said, it's so much worse than they told us. He was worried about a Great Depression, not just a Great Recession. And he had to really work hard. Under his leadership, and thanks to the sacrifice of so many Americans, we pulled back from the brink of depression, saved the auto industry, curbed Wall Street abuses, and provided health care to 16 million people. Now, the only way that the Republicans can win is if they count on collective amnesia from the American people. President Obama deserves a lot more credit than he gets for helping us avoid an economic catastrophe. And I know it's very inconvenient for our Republican friends, but the facts do speak for themselves. Economic growth is stronger under Democratic presidents. Unemployment is lower. The stock market rises faster, businesses do better, and deficits are smaller. And one of my favorite inconvenient facts, under Republicans, recessions happen 4 times as frequently as under Democrats. So one would have to wonder, why would anybody who cares about the economy, which is all of us, why would anybody who cares about seeing paychecks rise again, fighting inequality, raising the minimum wage, dealing with the challenges that confront us, believe that going back to the failed policies of trickle-down economics would help anybody except for those people at the top? You know, I am not running for my husband's 3rd term or President Obama's 3rd term. I'm running for my 1st term. Proudly carry forward this record of Democratic achievement. We know what works and what doesn't. It works when middle-class families get a raise. That will be my mission from my first day as president to the last. We need growth that is strong, fair, and long-term. So the rewards of success don't just go to those at the top. You know, when a company does well, shareholders and executives aren't the only ones who should benefit. The people who work at that company should as well. The people who actually produce the profits should share in them. If it can work for Market Basket across New England, it can work across America. But here's what doesn't work. When 25 hedge fund managers earn more each year than all the kindergarten teachers in America combined. There's a tax loophole that lets them treat their pay like investment gains, you've heard of it, the carried interest loophole, rather than normal income like everyone else. I have called for the ending of that loophole since 2007. I am sick of multimillionaires paying a lower tax rate than a teacher or a nurse. That is wrong. I'll close that loophole. And I will reform our tax code so everyone pays their fair share, particularly those who have the most benefits. I have proposed incentives to encourage long-term investments in small businesses, hard-hit communities, and building our country, not the quick speculation and trading that goes on. I want to see tax credits that will encourage apprentices and profit sharing. I want young people brought into our economy again so that they have a chance to have a better future. Raise the minimum wage so no one who works hard in America has to live in poverty. I'll fight for small businesses that create the jobs in America. We're a small business country. I want to be the small business president. I don't think we should be tilting our tax code, our economic policy toward big businesses that can hire lawyers and lobbyists. Most jobs in America come from small businesses. That's why I have a plan to make it easier for entrepreneurs to get loans and avoid red tape. I'll hold corporations accountable when they gouge Americans on drug prices or pollute our environment or bust unions and exploit workers. And that's just the beginning. We're going to do what works. Because as important as economic worries are, and I hear them everywhere, they're not the only ones that families face today, are they? If you get out there and you actually listen to people, as I've done all over New Hampshire, you hear about problems that rarely make the headlines, but that keep families up at night. I've listened to those stories. I've heard about the heartaches and the hopes. It really has motivated me to roll up my sleeves to come up with solutions that can help make a difference in the lives of families here and everywhere across our country. For example, I never expected that substance abuse and mental health would be major issues in my campaign until I came to Keene on my very first trip. And then I started listening. I heard story after story about heroin, pills, meth, alcohol, other addictions. I met a grandmother who's taking responsibility for raising her grandchild because her daughter's struggling with addiction. She can't be the parent she should be. I've sat and listened to moms and dads who've lost their children, counselors and doctors and police officers who've done everything they can to help save people. One man in Laconia said to me the other day, "I don't want to go to more funerals." When you hear those stories, it's hard not only to be moved and sad, but it's also motivating. At my first town hall about this issue in Keene, hundreds and hundreds of people packed into the gymnasium, and they told their stories. And then in Laconia, just a few days ago, we heard about solutions. I've got a plan to do something about this epidemic. More and better treatment and prevention, especially for young people. Making sure everyone who writes prescriptions is trained in addiction. Putting rescue drugs like Naxalone in the hands of first responders. Criminal justice reform so nonviolent drug users get time to heal instead of time in jail. There are so many stories that people share with me. That's what drives my campaign. That's what gets me up every day. Often I'm asked, how can you do this? Well, it is challenging, but it's also incredibly rewarding because I meet people who are so resilient, so filled with purpose and hope. I want to be the president who takes on the big challenges. Look, we have to worry about how we make sure Iran never gets a nuclear weapon. We have to deal with the refugee crisis in Europe and so much else. But I also want to be the president who keeps listening, who hears about the challenges you talk about around your kitchen table, like student debt. A student here in New Hampshire really summed it up for me, saying that paying for college shouldn't be the hardest thing about going to college. And yesterday, Governor Hassan and I were at the University of New Hampshire where we were talking about my plan and where we heard from two students who very clearly and emotionally talked about what their challenges were trying to get the education they've always dreamed of. I call my plan the New College Compact. As president, I will make sure families can afford to send your kids to college. Everyone with student debt can refinance that debt, just like a mortgage or a car loan. Cost won't be a barrier anymore, and debt won't hold anyone back. I also have to say that I've heard a lot about another challenge that gets too little attention in our long-term looking forward into the future about what kind of country we're going to be and how we can help people live up to their potential, and that is the caregiving crisis in America. I met a woman in Dover who's caring for her husband with Alzheimer's and her mother with Alzheimer's. I just met a young man backstage who's had to go to part-time work to take care of his mother with Alzheimer's. People don't know where to turn. They don't know where to get help. As a senator, I passed a law giving family caregivers more support. And as president, I will make this a national priority for families, number one. Every one of us knows somebody who could benefit: the veterans who deserve better care, the parents of children with autism who need help and solutions, families who can't find facilities to provide mental health treatment for their loved ones, no matter how hard they try. You know, it was summed up for me by the single mom who's juggling a job and courses at a community college while raising 3 kids alone. She said, look, I don't expect anything to come easy. But she asked me, isn't there anything we can do so it isn't quite so hard? These are all challenges leaders should care about, problems that don't get nearly enough attention on the campaign trail or in Washington. Well, I'm not only paying attention. As president, we will get results together. Because if you want a president who will tell you everything that's wrong with America and who's to blame for it, you've got plenty of other choices. And my goodness, didn't we hear enough of that the other night at the Republican debate? But if you want a president who will listen to you, work her heart out to make your life better, and together to build a stronger, fairer, better country, then you're looking at her. You know, folks, this election ultimately is about finding a leader with a vision for the future, broad enough to encompass this great country of ours and the skill and determination to lead us there. Someone who can defend and build on the progress we've made, not let it slip away or get ripped away. I will stand up to all the attacks from the super PACs and the Koch brothers every chance I get. Done to try to overcome the dysfunction in Washington, actually to get things done like I did when I was First Lady and we didn't get health care that time, and then I turned around and I worked with Ted Kennedy to get the Children's Health Insurance Program to take care of more than 8 million kids. Or when I was in the Senate And I realized that our National Guard didn't have the same access to health care, and I teamed up with Lindsey Graham, and we passed it, so now every single one of our National Guards has that same option that they should have had before. I have been fighting my whole life to even the odds for people who have those odds stacked against them. That's what I'm going to keep doing, fighting for families, fighting for fairness, fighting for you. And I've learned that through a lot of experiences, but I really learned it first from my own mother. Abandoned and mistreated by her family, she was out on her own at 14 working as a housemaid. She channeled her hardships into a deep commitment to serving and respecting others. She's been my touchstone, guiding me through my life of service. My first job out of law school wasn't at some big New York law firm. It was with the Children's Defense Fund, standing up for kids who needed a fighter. Every step along the way, I've stood up for women, for children, for families, for underdogs, everyone who needs a champion. And I'm just getting warmed up. I believe in America, but I believe in America we should have each other's backs. We should lift each other up, not tear each other down. And that is especially true when it comes to lifting up women who deserve equal pay for equal work. Every family deserves access to quality, affordable child care so they can actually go to work. Every American should have access to paid family leave so you don't have to choose between a paycheck and taking care of your baby or your mom or your dad. I'm a proud Democrat because we're the ones who stand up and say the Affordable Care Act is here to stay. We have come too far. We have fought too hard to let anyone take it away. We're the ones also who understand we have to make Social Security even stronger, and especially for widowed, divorced, and single women who are the poorest older people in America. We're the ones who support teachers, not scapegoat them. Invest in universal pre-kindergarten and early childhood education so all of our kids get the best possible start. It is past time for us to get over the toxic debates about education that have paralyzed us for too long. Let's focus on what actually works to help teachers teach and children learn. I'm going to actually listen to teachers and learn what they know from being in those classrooms every single day. I will fight for strong public schools in every zip code and community across America. And I am honored honored to have earned the endorsement of the NEA right here in New Hampshire. And Democrats believe we don't have to choose between protecting our environment, combating climate change, and growing our economy. We can do that by embracing clean, renewable energy. I want us to set big goals in this country again. I can remember, I think there's a few of you who also can remember, when President Kennedy challenged us to send a moon mission that would land a man on the moon and bring him back within a decade. And a lot of people thought that was impossible, didn't they? Nobody knew what would happen. I was sure, because the president set that goal, that America could get it done. And we did. That's the kind of president I want to be. I want to challenge us again, particularly young people again. So by the end of my first term, we will have installed 500 million more solar panels. And by the end of my second, we will produce enough renewable energy to power every home in America. We can do this. We can take on climate change, not deny it, but take it on. And at the same time, create millions of new jobs and businesses that will make America the clean energy superpower of the 21st century. And boy, Democrats believe, and we're the only ones left who believe this, we have to stop the flow of secret, unaccountable money that distorts our elections and drowns out the voices of American voters. You know, it's predicted by some that our next president may have as many as 3 appointments to the Supreme Court. Now, if you weren't convinced to vote for a Democrat before, I hope you are now. I will appoint justices who will protect every citizen's right to vote instead of every corporation's right to buy elections. And if necessary, I will work to pass a constitutional amendment to undo the Supreme Court's decision in Citizens United. And we Democrats believe that no matter who you are, what you look like, what faith you practice, or who you love, America has a place for you, and you should have the same opportunity as anyone else to live up to your potential. So we have a great agenda. We know what it means to be a Democrat. We're going to fight back against those who will do, say, and spend whatever it takes to turn our country in a very different direction. Who watched the Republican debates the other night? Oh, you gluttons for punishment, you. 15 candidates, 5 hours, not a single fighter for the middle class. And the fact checkers are having a field day with their answers. The Republicans' positions are not just factually inaccurate, they are deeply out of touch and out of date. Not one of them offered a credible plan to make college more affordable or combat climate change. Did you hear anything about family leave or preschool? Or what about putting an end to the gun violence that plagues our communities every single day? Not of them is willing to say loudly and clearly, Black Lives Matter. And of course, no solutions for skyrocketing prescription drug costs, no ideas about how to raise incomes, no ideas at all when you stop to think about it. But there was one statement I had to agree with. Yeah, hard to believe, right? As Lindsey Graham said, Hillary Clinton has a list a mile long to help the middle class. About that. I do. It was the most honest thing anyone said that night. And I'm going to keep adding to that list, keep fighting for the middle class, keep showing that voters have a real choice in this election. Don't be distracted by their flamboyant frontrunner, trying to bully and buy his way into the presidency. His latest outrage, the way he handled the question about President Obama, was shocking, but not surprising. He's been trafficking in prejudice and paranoia throughout this campaign. But I got to tell you, if you look at the policies of the other Republican candidates, they are just Trump without the pizzazz or the hair. He says hateful things about immigrants. They don't support a real path to citizenship. We need comprehensive reform, not demagoguery and deportations. And we have heard Mr. Trump insult and demean women. You know, by the way, Donald, when you say you cherish women, that really doesn't make it any better. Why don't you stop cherishing women and start respecting women? But listen closely, he's not the only one. All of the Republican candidates want to defund Planned Parenthood. Many are willing to shut down our government to do it, no matter the consequences for our country. We are talking about a women's health service that provides 500,000 breast cancer exams every year. That's what they want to stop. Here in New Hampshire, you know about this. Last month, your executive council cut off funding to Planned Parenthood in this state. Well, actually, 3 men on the executive council voted to deny women access to health care across New Hampshire. I'd like them, along with the Republican candidates, to meet the mom who caught her cancer early thanks to a screening, or the teenager who avoided an unintended pregnancy because she had access to birth control, or the survivor of sexual assault who got emergency contraception. These extreme views might be right for the Republican primary, but they are dead wrong for America. And now I know that when I talk like this, some of the Republicans say I'm playing the gender card. Well, if calling for equal pay and paid leave and women's health is playing the gender card, deal me in. I'm going to fight until every woman has the rights, the opportunities, and the respect she deserves, until every little girl in America knows without a doubt she can grow up to be anything she wants, even President of the United States. a great campaign. It's going to be fun. Because what makes the other folks uncomfortable is what makes America what we are today. Our diversity, our ingenuity, our innovation, the signs of American dynamism, our immigrant culture, all that we do to really build a country where everybody has a place, where there are no limits on what we can achieve when we put our common interest ahead of our self-interest and our common sense ahead of nonsense. I am fighting for that America. I'm fighting for all Americans, not just some, for the struggling, the striving, and the successful. I'm fighting for everyone who's ever been knocked down but refused to be knocked out. I am fighting for you, Democrats, and New Hampshire, and America. Let's go out and make the future we want to see. Thank you all, and God